7:45.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Kiwi.
Let's go and stare into the night sky. It's going to be a long weekend. It's going to look like at least a fine weekend around the country as well. Finally, we might be able to get our telescopes out, our binoculars, or even just lie back on the grass, wherever you be, and stare into the night sky and ponder the meaning of life. We do it with Dylan Storey, who's an amateur astronomer, with help from the Stardome Observatory in Auckland City. G'day there, Dylan.
Good morning, Wammo. So you're going to take that telescope of yours up the mountain?
I think this will be the weekend. If it's going to happen any weekend soon, it's going to be this weekend. The weather forecast is looking pretty good for it. You're sitting back with your coffee. I've got my Barocca. So why don't
we're all loaded up.
We're all loaded up. So why don't we discuss some astronomy? First up, there has been a bit of a discovery this week with the Hubble telescope.
Well, it wasn't a discovery as such. It was a reinterpretation of an old discovery. So it comes from an image called the Hubble Deep Field, which was taken a few years ago. But it's basically a very, very long exposure shot of an area of sky where there's nothing. So that the director of the Hubble Space Telescope decided to do that to see what it yielded, and it's actually looking at an area of sky no bigger than a pinhead held at arm's length.
Wow!
And what they find in that picture is millions and millions of galaxies. So it's looking very far out into space, as far as you physically can, basically, and therefore also a long way back in time. And they measure the distance to each galaxy, each speck. Some of the closer ones look like big spiral galaxies, or the further away ones just look like specks of light.
Yeah.
So they measure the distance to them by what we call the redshift, which is how far the light is shifted by the Doppler effect, how far the light is stretched out, meaning how fast the galaxy is moving away.
Does that mean that the light is elongated, or that the spectrum is split out into different colours? What?
No, the light itself is elongated. So imagine something giving out a wave. If it's moving away from you, that wave is going to be slightly longer. If it's moving towards you, the waves are going to be slightly bunched up. So that's what happens to the light. So this galaxy, the initial analysis of the photo revealed a bit of an anomaly in the spectrum from this galaxy, and they weren't sure if it was a redshift of 2 point something or 8 point something. And so they did a big relook at it, a big new analysis of the data, and they came up with that the possibility of it being 2 point something was that they threw that out. So it means it's a redshift of 8. Which is the furthest away thing that we know of. So it's an old photo, but the new analysis confirms that it is the oldest galaxy we can see. So it's basically formed just after the Big Bang, a few million years after the Big Bang, which is incredibly young. It's basically as soon as matter started to form and congeal and form solid things, because the early era of the universe was there was no solid. It was all like a big sea of radiation, a big bath of light and energy.
Yeah.
And then as it expanded, it sort of cooled and matter started to form. And as that matter started to form, then it started to attract itself to each other with gravity. So this is one of the very earliest things that's done that.
Wow, that's amazing. And basically, it's represented to us, I heard, I haven't seen the photo myself, but as a smudge. It's a little smudge. on a
it's somewhere
Polaroid
between
film.
Somewhere between a smudge and a speck, you could say.
Yeah, that's what it's come down to. But of course, it may not even exist, right? Because the light has taken so long to travel to the Hubble telescope, light years. I don't know how many light years, but
it's taken almost the entire life of the universe to get here.
Oh man!
So, yeah.
Wow.
It's probably still there, unless there's some things that we vastly don't know about out there in the universe. There's not much that can happen to a whole galaxy. Well, that's not true. I guess it could have collided with other galaxies. It could have been broken apart.
Yeah. Any number of calamities can happen up there in space. Mr. Storey.
and do galaxies crash into each other, and they do this big circular dance as their gravities interact.
It's poetic.
these massive sort of dramas being played out in space.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I did want to talk about was when you do look up and you say you can see the Milky Way and it looks kind of cloudy, but also you see a lot of photos from space of cloudy stuff. What's going on there?
Well, they are sort of composite images which are taken from big telescopes with different filters. So if you look at a nebula, say the Orion Nebula, if you look at it through the Stardome telescopes, you're seeing nebulosity, you're seeing all this gas, but it doesn't look a colour, but you can sort of see all these textures in it. So what they do is they put, say, a red filter on, or even an infrared filter, and take a picture with that, and then artificially colour it red.
Yeah.
And then take one with, say, a blue filter, or as many as you want, even ultraviolet or green or whatever, and then artificially colour them and layer them. And it's sort of, it is a slightly false impression to what you actually see with your eye from Earth, but it is real, in that the things that are coloured red is the stuff that's emitting in the red part of the spectrum. So those images are quite scientifically accurate, and you can tell a lot of what sort of molecules are putting out light by what colour comes from these composite images. But it's sort of it's a bit misrepresentative to say you can look through a telescope and see something like that.
Sure. All right. Well, finally, Dylan, what's going on at the Stardome? Anything of note that people should be aware of?
Well, there's the Natural Selection Show, which is on at 9 o'clock throughout October and November, which I would encourage listeners to go to. It's really awesome. It's a real immersive planetarium experience, and it's really revealing of that process of what Darwin invented, and sort of clears up a lot of the misconceptions on it. So that's an excellent show at 9 o'clock. The Sky Tonight at 8 o'clock, as usual, just a presenter taking you through all the things you can see in the night sky, sort of explaining it to you. When you look up at the night sky, it can be a bit daunting. It just seems like this massive random pattern of dots. But if you learn a few key things, you can actually learn to find your way around that, and it sort of all starts to make sense. So that's what the Sky Tonight show does. And of course, if it's clear, then after that, you go outside to use telescopes.
Great. Cool. Which I hope to do in a very amateur kind of way later on this weekend. Thanks so much, Dylan. Cheers.
Thanks, Wammo. We have to get you along to the Stardome one night and
on a real telescope.
Start you off, yeah. Get you addicted.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Cheers, Dylan.
Cheers, Wammo.
Dylan Storey with Dylan Storey's Astronomy there. Here